There is a moment, shocking, uncomfortable, impossible to ignore, when you finally see the truth. If you don't design your life, something else will design it for you. And whatever takes over, your phone, other people's demands, the noise of the world, will not care who you become. It will quietly turn your days into reactions, your attention into fragments, and your potential into background static. Look honestly at your recent days. Were they moving you toward the life you want, or were you merely surviving them? Waking up tired, scrolling before you even think your own thoughts, running through tasks, answering messages, collapsing at night only to repeat it all again. That is not a life by design. That is a life by drift. Designing your life begins with the courage to stop drifting. It is choosing clarity over chaos, direction over distraction, and purpose over pressure. Not perfection, not burnout, just a life that finally feels true to who you are meant to be. You are not lost because you lack discipline. You are not failing because your days feel heavy. You are simply living inside a structure you never consciously created. Habits formed without intention, expectations inherited from others, patterns that don't belong to your future self. Life doesn't transform by accident. It responds to intention. The moment you decide what you want to experience and who you choose to become, your reality begins to shift. What psychology calls deliberate choice and what spiritual science calls energetic alignment are the same truth. What you repeatedly focus on, you eventually build. Where your attention goes, your life grows. This audiobook is an invitation to stop letting life happen to you and start shaping it from within, through intention, awareness, aligned action, and a daily structure that reflects your future, not your past. You won't do this perfectly. You don't need to. You only need to do it consciously. One intention, one choice, one redesigned day at a time. Your future is listening. And now, finally, you are ready to speak. If you're ready to rise above the noise, like the video, it tells YouTube you're choosing awareness over autopilot. Subscribe now and don't miss the next chapter in your evolution. And remember, the deepest transformation belongs to those who stay until the very end. Chapter 1. Build intentions that shape your everyday direction. A life does not change by accident. It changes the moment you become fully aware of what you want to experience, who you want to become, and how you want to live. Most people drift through their days without this awareness. They move from one task to the next, surviving the day instead of shaping it. Their actions have no center, their focus has no anchor, and their energy spreads thin across noise that does not reflect their deeper truth. A life cannot be built inside that kind of drift. A life responds to intention. Intention is the quiet force that begins to align your inner world with your outer decisions. It is not dramatic, and it does not require perfection. It requires honesty. It requires the boldness to stop, to look at yourself without filters, and to ask, what matters to me? What do I want more of? What do I want less of? Who am I becoming through the choices I make every day? These questions sound simple, but most people avoid them because they demand responsibility. Without intention, people hope their life will magically feel right one day. But a life that feels right is not built on hope. It is built on deliberate choice. To build intention is to place meaning before motion. Instead of rushing into a day fueled by urgency or habit, you choose the emotional tone and direction you want to carry. A single intention, calmness, focus, patience, courage, discipline, can act as an anchor for your entire day. Whether the day becomes easy or heavy, the intention remains steady. It reminds you why you woke up. It reminds you of the kind of human you are choosing to be. It gives your decisions clarity, because your mind is no longer pulled by every passing thought or every unexpected demand. Human psychology shows that the mind naturally follows the path of least resistance. Without intention, the mind chooses what feels easier in the moment: distraction, avoidance, impulsive action, even if those choices weaken your future. Intention disrupts this pattern. It teaches you to choose what is right for your future self, instead of what is comfortable for your present self. It shifts you from reacting to creating, from being pushed by circumstances to guiding them. People underestimate how quickly a life drifts when intention is missing. One distracted day becomes a distracted week, then months, then years. Time does not pause for confusion. If you do not guide it, it guides you. That is why intention is not a luxury. It is a responsibility. You shape your life one day at a time, and the quality of those days depends on the intention behind them. On an energetic level, intention is a frequency. It shapes the state of your nervous system, influences your emotions, and broadcasts into the invisible field around you. When you begin your day with anxiety or scattered thoughts, your energy fragments. You attract more noise, more confusion, more reactivity. When you begin the day with a grounded intention, your energy becomes coherent. You attract clarity, direction, and opportunities that match your internal state. Intention is the signal that tells your mind and your environment where to align. This is why the moment you say, "Here is how I choose to show up today," something inside you settles. You take control of the emotional tone of the day. You establish leadership over your focus and energy. Instead of being carried by the world, you begin influencing it. Intention also protects your energy. When you start the day without clarity, you spend your mental strength reacting to everything around you. You follow noise instead of meaning. You say yes when you should say no. You solve problems that do not matter. But when you begin with intention, you know what deserves your strength and what does not. You give your best to what aligns with your direction and let go of what distracts you. Intention adds emotional weight to small actions. A simple walk becomes grounding. A single completed task becomes progress. A moment of patience becomes self-mastery. When your intention is to grow, every small step carries meaning. Ordinary actions transform into evidence that you are becoming the person you choose to be. This is how identity shifts. When you choose intentions that elevate you, your actions begin to match them. When your actions change, your self-perception changes. You start seeing yourself as someone with purpose, someone who leads themselves, someone who owns their life. And once your identity rises, your actions naturally rise with it. Daily intention builds discipline, not strict or punishing discipline, but the steady kind that supports you. When you follow intention even when motivation is low, you prove to yourself that your commitments matter. This kind of discipline creates freedom. You no longer wait for perfect moods or perfect conditions to act. You act because you decided who you want to be. Intention also strengthens emotional maturity. It teaches you to pause before reacting, to think before speaking, to respond from clarity instead of stress. Each intention is a small step, but many small steps shape a lifelong direction. One intentional day makes you centered. One intentional week makes you capable. One intentional year changes your entire life. There is no magic in this process. It is structure. It is psychology. It is energy. It is the daily choice to guide your life instead of being shaped by your impulses. You do not need a perfect plan to begin. You only need the honesty to choose what your days are meant to create. Your future waits for the intentions you choose today. Design your days with intention, and you design a life with meaning. Chapter 2. Choose actions that match your deeper needs. When a person finally chooses actions that match their deeper needs, they begin living with a level of honesty that most people never experience. Many drift through life doing what appears right on the outside while ignoring what feels right on the inside. They follow the demands of the day, the expectations of others, and the noise around them, but neglect the quiet signals within themselves. They stay busy, but not fulfilled, active, but not aligned. And eventually life begins to feel confusing because there is a gap between what they do and what they actually need. Closing that gap requires courage. It requires listening inward before listening outward. Every human being carries deeper needs that act like internal navigation. The need for respect, peace, progress, purpose, stability, and genuine connection. These needs are not weaknesses, they are signals. When these signals are ignored, the mind becomes tired, the body becomes tense, and the heart becomes heavy. When they are honored, life begins to feel balanced again. But most people never stop long enough to ask themselves what they truly need now. Not 5 years ago, not in childhood, not in a past version of themselves, but in this moment of their evolution. They continue living by outdated patterns, old habits, and borrowed expectations. Real change begins the moment you choose to act in a way that supports your well-being instead of betraying it. Choosing actions that match your deeper needs means you stop living on autopilot. You begin questioning your patterns instead of repeating them blindly. If something drains you every day, it has no place in the life you want to build. If something strengthens you, it deserves your attention. Awareness grows when you stop pretending everything is fine and start asking yourself why certain days feel heavy and others feel calm. The answer is almost always the same. Heavy days come from misaligned action. Calm days come from aligned action. Your needs do not have to be dramatic to be important. Some people need silence to think. Others need structure to stay grounded. Some need meaningful goals to feel alive. Others need rest to recover. Some need time alone to reset. Others need warm connection to feel supported. These needs are not flaws. They are your design. When you understand them, your actions become your support system. When you ignore them, you unconsciously work against yourself. There is a powerful shift that happens when you begin choosing actions that serve your inner world instead of pleasing the outer world. Many people exhaust themselves trying to meet expectations that do not belong to them. They say yes when their body says no. They stay in routines that drain their confidence. They continue commitments that no longer match their soul. The fear of disappointing others keeps them away from what they truly need. But here is the truth. No one benefits from your silent suffering. People gain more from your real strength than from your hidden struggle. Your deeper needs reveal themselves in moments of frustration. When you feel overwhelmed, you likely need clarity. When you feel restless, you need direction. When your emotions feel heavy, you need space. When you feel disconnected, you need meaningful interaction. These feelings are not problems. They are messages. When you act on these signals, your life moves into alignment. When you ignore them, your life becomes unstable. Matching your actions to your needs also means being honest about what you can no longer carry. Certain responsibilities feel heavy, because they no longer match the person you are becoming. Certain habits weaken you because they are built on old fears. Certain relationships drain your confidence because they demand more than you can give. Letting go is not giving up. It is growth. When you remove what clashes with your deeper needs, you create space for what supports them. There is a psychological truth many overlook. When your actions match your deeper needs, motivation becomes natural. You do not need to force yourself. You do not need to push through every moment. You stop fighting yourself. The energy comes from alignment, not pressure. Even when the work is challenging, it feels meaningful because it resonates with who you are becoming. Needs evolve. What you required 5 years ago may not be what you need today. Growth brings new priorities. Life brings new lessons. Emotional maturity brings new values. Many people feel stuck simply because they are still living by the needs of a past version of themselves. They cling to routines that no longer support them. Real direction requires checking in with yourself and asking, what do I need now? What no longer supports me? What must change for me to feel aligned again? Another crucial element is how you speak to yourself. Your inner voice shapes your actions. If your self-talk tells you to ignore your needs, your actions will follow. If your self-talk encourages you to honor your well-being, your actions will reflect that. The mind listens to your words. When your inner voice becomes supportive, your behavior begins to align with your needs naturally. People often fear that honoring their needs makes them selfish, but the opposite is true. A person who ignores their needs becomes reactive, tired, and emotionally inconsistent. A person who honors their needs becomes calmer, clearer, kinder, and stronger. That is not selfishness. That is responsibility. Matching your actions to your needs builds long-term stability. When you choose actions that protect your peace, your stress decreases. When you choose routines that support your goals, your confusion fades. Stability is not accidental. It is built through choices that match your deeper needs. Trusting your instincts is also essential. When something pulls at you, it is calling for your attention. When something drains you, it is warning you. When something brings you peace, it is guiding you. No one knows your inner world like you do. Trusting yourself is the highest form of alignment. And when your actions finally match your deeper needs, something inside you settles. You feel grounded, balanced, clear, capable, human again. You stop surviving and begin building. You stop shrinking and begin rising. You stop living someone else's life and begin living your own. This is how you create a life that grows from the inside out, by choosing actions that honor your deeper needs every single day. Chapter 3. Practice awareness to guide your long decisions. Awareness is one of the most powerful tools a person can develop when they want to make long decisions that actually shape their future. Most people think decisions are made in the moment, but in truth, decisions are shaped long before that. By your level of awareness, by the patterns you notice or ignore, by the signals you listen to or suppress. Awareness is not complicated. It is the simple ability to notice your thoughts, your habits, your emotions, and your reactions without running away from them. Yet this simplicity makes it rare, because most people move too quickly and live too loudly to hear their inner world clearly. They make long decisions from pressure or impulse. They choose paths without asking why. They follow the loudest voices around them instead of honoring the quiet truth within them. Awareness changes all of that. Awareness gives you a clear picture of who you are right now and who you are becoming. Without that picture, any long decision becomes a guess, and guesses cannot build a meaningful life. Practicing awareness means slowing down long enough to understand what you are doing, how you are feeling, and why you are choosing the things you choose. Most people never pause to see the internal signs that life is trying to show them. They overlook dissatisfaction. They ignore rising stress. They hide from uncomfortable feelings. But those signals carry essential information. When something drains your energy consistently, it is telling you something needs to change. When something excites you effortlessly, it is revealing where your potential is waiting. Awareness is paying attention instead of pushing emotions into the background. It is meeting your inner world instead of avoiding it. Every long decision shapes the direction of your life, your work, your relationships, your health, your identity. These decisions require more than quick thinking. They require honest understanding. Awareness helps you collect that understanding piece by piece. When you watch your thoughts, you notice the patterns that run your behavior. When you observe your emotions, you uncover what influences your reactions. When you pay attention to your habits, you see what strengthens you and what weakens you. These small observations create the foundation of wise, long-term choices. Awareness grows through practice. Not perfection, not intensity. Practice. Small daily moments of noticing. Checking in with yourself before the world pulls you into motion. Paying attention to how certain environments, people, or situations shift your emotional state. Asking simple questions. What felt right today? What felt wrong? What drained me? What nourished me? Awareness is not judgment. It is clarity. It is seeing without distortion. And clarity leads to better choices than emotion ever will. Many people make long decisions in emotional noise. They commit to something important while stressed, exhausted, or overwhelmed. But emotion blurs judgment. Awareness teaches you to recognize when your mind is not in a state to decide anything meaningful. Instead of forcing a decision, you learn to pause. You wait until your inner world stabilizes. This alone prevents countless mistakes. When you make decisions from balanced awareness, your actions align with your long-term well-being instead of temporary emotions. Awareness also reveals your blind spots, those unconscious patterns you act from without realizing it. Maybe you avoid responsibility when something feels overwhelming. Maybe you shut down when someone misunderstands you. Maybe you chase distractions when you fear failure. These patterns are not flaws. They are signals. They show where growth is needed. When you see your blind spots clearly, you can correct them. When you stay unaware, you repeat them. And repeated patterns shape entire futures. Awareness also sharpens your ability to distinguish between short comfort and long benefit. Many people choose what feels good in the moment, but damages their future. They accept ease instead of development, relief instead of progress. Awareness trains you to see beyond the immediate feeling and consider the long-term effect. Before choosing something that offers only quick relief, you ask, does this support the person I want to become? That single question can redirect the entire trajectory of your life. Awareness also creates emotional independence. When you understand your inner world, you no longer need outside approval to guide your direction. You stop shifting your choices because someone disagrees. You stop seeking permission. People who lack awareness rely heavily on external voices. People who practice awareness trust their inner guidance more. They stand for themselves. Awareness helps you understand your past without being trapped by it. Many people repeat old mistakes because they never examined the choices that created them. Awareness allows you to look back with honesty, without shame. You see what decisions moved you forward, what habits held you back, which environments weakened you, which people elevated you. This clarity prepares you for wiser decisions moving into your future. Awareness also teaches patience. Long decisions require time, reflection, and careful understanding. Without awareness, impatience pushes you toward choices you later regret. With awareness, you slow down. You allow clarity to rise. You choose from wisdom instead of emotional urgency. Another powerful aspect of awareness is foresight, the ability to feel your future before you live it. When you imagine a decision, awareness allows you to sense how that choice will affect your days, your energy, your emotions, and your peace. Many people make decisions based on excitement without considering sustainability. Awareness helps you choose paths that remain aligned long after the excitement fades. Awareness also helps you understand what kind of environment you need to thrive, what conversations strengthen your confidence, what routines calm your mind, what work energizes you, what relationships bring clarity. Without awareness, people place themselves in environments that drain their potential. With awareness, you choose environments that elevate it. Most importantly, awareness helps you hear the difference between your true voice and the voice of fear. Fear speaks loudly. Awareness speaks quietly. Fear says you're not ready. Awareness says, pay attention. Fear pulls you back. Awareness shows you the path forward. When you recognize fear as a reaction, not a truth, you make decisions from strength instead of limitation. Awareness sharpens discipline. When you are aware of your distractions, you can remove them. When you are aware of your excuses, you can challenge them. When you are aware of your triggers, you can prepare for them. Awareness is the foundation of self-leadership. And eventually, awareness reveals opportunities you once ignored because you were too distracted to see them. You begin to notice people, ideas, chances, and paths that align with your long-term direction. Awareness opens the door to possibilities that were always there, but invisible until you looked inward. This is how awareness becomes your guide, not by controlling your decisions, but by informing them. Awareness shows you what strengthens you, what drains you, what inspires you, what limits you. When you see these things clearly, you gain the power to choose a future that serves your highest self, instead of repeating patterns that keep you stuck. A life shaped by awareness becomes a life shaped by clarity, not confusion, by purpose, not impulse, by understanding, not habit. You learn yourself, you observe yourself, you lead yourself, and your life transforms from something you endure into something you are consciously creating. Chapter 4. Strengthen discipline to support your future plans. Discipline is one of the most reliable tools a person can build when they want to create a future that actually reflects their potential. Many believe discipline is a harsh, rigid force, something that demands perfection or punishes failure. But real discipline is far more human than that. Real discipline is the art of honoring your commitments. It is the quiet structure that supports your growth when motivation fades. It is the steady path beneath your feet when life becomes unpredictable. Without discipline, even the most inspiring dreams collapse under the weight of inconsistency. People often dream big, but act small. They set goals they never prepare for. They wait for motivation, as though motivation were a stable friend, instead of a fleeting feeling. They want progress without routine, and transformation without repetition. But every meaningful future is built on actions, repeated with intention. To strengthen discipline, you begin with clarity. You must know the kind of future you want to build. Without a clear future vision, the mind naturally chooses comfort over effort. Comfort feels good now, but it steals strength from the future. Vision does the opposite. It gives you something worth working for. When you know why your effort matters, discipline becomes meaningful instead of burdensome. You are no longer forcing yourself. You are preparing yourself for the life you want. Discipline grows through small steps, not massive leaps. Many people try to change everything in one day. They push intensely, overwhelm themselves, and then collapse back into old patterns. Real discipline is built through steady repetition. When you complete one small discipline today, tomorrow becomes easier. When you complete a week of small disciplines, momentum builds. When you complete a month, your behavior changes. And when you complete several months, your identity shifts. You become someone who follows through. That identity is the foundation of long-term strength. The greatest enemy of discipline is distraction. Distraction steals your focus and convinces you that immediate comfort is more important than long-term progress. Strengthening discipline requires understanding what pulls your attention away from your goals. Sometimes it's external noise, devices, conversations, environments that encourage procrastination. Sometimes it's internal, fear, doubt, or familiar habits that feel easier than change. When you identify these distractions, you reclaim your power. You stop surrendering your time to what weakens you and begin choosing your focus with intention. To strengthen discipline, you must understand the psychology of resistance. When you attempt something unfamiliar, your mind pushes back. It prefers routines that feel safe, even if they limit your potential. This resistance is not a sign that something is wrong. It is a sign that something new is happening. Discipline teaches you to move forward, even when resistance appears. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen your neural pathways for action. Over time, resistance loses its influence because you are no longer controlled by comfort. Many people rely solely on willpower, but willpower alone is unstable. A stronger approach is shaping the environment around you. Your surroundings influence your behavior more than you imagine. If your environment is chaotic, undirected, or filled with distractions, discipline becomes a constant struggle. But when you organize your space, reduce unnecessary influences, and create an environment that supports your goals, discipline becomes smoother. You are no longer fighting your surroundings. You are supported by them. Discipline also requires emotional management. There will be days when motivation rises and days when doubt creeps in. Your feelings will not always cooperate with your goals. Emotional waves are normal, but discipline teaches you not to base your actions on temporary moods. When you act even on slow days, you prove to yourself that your commitment is stronger than your emotions. This builds emotional maturity and inner stability. You begin trusting yourself deeply because you know you can stay consistent even when conditions change. Another essential part of discipline is responsibility. Many people blame circumstances for their lack of progress. They say they had no time, no energy, no perfect moment. But waiting for perfect conditions slows life down. Discipline teaches you to work with what you have now. You may not complete everything. You may not feel your best. But you do something. And that something keeps your future moving. To support your long-term plans, discipline must also be paired with systems. Systems are small structures that guide your behavior. When you rely only on motivation, progress becomes unpredictable. But when you create a system, planning your day the night before, scheduling high-value tasks early, reviewing progress weekly, your actions gain rhythm. Rhythm builds discipline. Discipline builds progress. Another key element is limiting the promises you make to yourself. Many people overwhelm themselves with a long list of commitments they cannot sustain. When they fail to keep them, discouragement grows. To strengthen discipline, you begin with promises you can keep. Once you build trust with yourself, you can increase your commitments. Discipline becomes strong, not because you force yourself, but because you honor your own word. Respecting your time is another form of discipline. Time is the space where your future is built. If you give your time to activities that do not align with your goals, you weaken your progress. Respect for time means being intentional about your schedule, selective with your commitments, and mindful about where your hours go. When you protect your time, you protect your future. Discipline must also remain steady during seasons of slow progress. Many people quit when results do not show quickly. They believe their effort isn't working, so they stop. But long-term growth requires patience. Seeds grow before they break the surface. Progress often develops quietly, before it becomes visible. Discipline keeps you consistent in these hidden phases. You show up because you trust the long-term outcome, not because immediate results validate you. Discipline also transforms your relationship with challenges. Instead of seeing difficulty as a signal to stop, you begin seeing it as a test of your commitment. Each obstacle strengthens you. Each setback increases your resilience. Challenges do not disappear, but discipline changes how you face them, with clarity, not fear. One more part of strengthening discipline is learning to forgive yourself quickly. Discipline is not perfection. You will slip. You will miss days. You will lose focus. But harsh self-criticism does not build strength. Renewed commitment does. When you forgive yourself and return quickly, you preserve momentum. The ability to recover fast is one of the hidden strengths of disciplined people. Your future deserves structure. It deserves consistency. It deserves your full commitment. Strengthening discipline gives your life the stability it needs to grow. You stop relying on fleeting motivation and begin relying on intentional action. You stop dreaming without preparation and begin building with purpose. Discipline becomes not a burden, but a quiet partner in your future, supporting you, carrying you, lifting you, preparing you. One committed action at a time. Chapter 5. Create boundaries that protect your mental space. A clear life begins with clear boundaries. Many people feel overwhelmed, not because they are weak, but because they allow too much into their mind without any filter. They absorb responsibilities that are not theirs. They say yes when every part of them is asking to say no. They allow noise, requests, expectations, and emotional burdens to enter their inner world unchecked. Eventually, their mind becomes heavy, their emotions become unstable, and their sense of self begins to blur. Boundaries are the structure that prevent this collapse. Boundaries are not walls. They are not isolation. They are rules that protect your mental, emotional, and energetic space. They determine how you allow the world to interact with you and what you allow to influence your inner state. Every person has a limit to what they can carry. When that limit is ignored, burnout becomes inevitable. When that limit is respected, clarity and strength begin to return. Protecting your mental space begins with understanding what drains you, what energizes you, and what keeps you balanced. Many people ignore these signals until exhaustion forces them to stop. But your body and mind speak early. You feel tension in your chest when someone pushes past your limits. You feel mentally tired after conversations soaked in negativity. You feel anxious when your schedule is crowded with commitments you never wanted. These sensations are not random. They are messages pointing toward missing boundaries. When you listen to these signals, you gain awareness. When you act on them, you gain freedom. Setting boundaries requires courage. It often means changing behaviors others have grown comfortable with. It may confuse people who benefited from your lack of boundaries. Some may try to guilt you back into old patterns. But your mental well-being must be stronger than their temporary discomfort. Boundaries are not an act of rejection. They are an act of self-respect. Many people overextend themselves out of fear. Fear of being disliked. Fear of disappointing others. Fear of appearing selfish. But these fears lead to emotional depletion. You cannot pour into life from an empty mind. Boundaries free you from carrying burdens that were never yours. They remind you that you are responsible for your well-being, not the world around you. A strong boundary can be simple. Saying no without over-explaining. Choosing not to participate in draining conversations. Limiting time spent with people who consistently violate your peace. Turning off notifications that interrupt your focus. Walking away from arguments that lead nowhere. Declining commitments that do not align with your values. These small actions create enormous protection. You begin to feel lighter, not because life becomes easier, but because you stop allowing unnecessary weight into your mind. Boundaries also build discipline. They teach you to remain loyal to your values instead of bending to external pressure. They help you protect your attention from distractions that weaken your direction. They teach you to choose what matters instead of surrendering your time to everything that asks for it. When boundaries become steady, your emotional life becomes steady. Healthy boundaries also strengthen relationships, not weaken them. When you protect your mental space, you interact with others from a place of clarity instead of resentment. You communicate more openly because you are no longer overwhelmed. You express needs instead of suppressing them. Boundaries create mutual respect. They show others how you expect to be treated, and they encourage others to express their own needs honestly. Protecting your mental space also accelerates your growth. A crowded mind cannot think clearly. An exhausted mind cannot self-reflect. A drained mind cannot expand. Boundaries remove the noise, giving you room to focus on your goals, reflect on your decisions, and build the habits that support your evolution. Growth requires attention, and attention requires space. An essential part of boundary building is learning to separate what is yours to carry from what is not. Many people take on emotional burdens that belong to someone else. They try to fix problems they did not create. They absorb emotions that are not theirs. They take responsibility for feelings they cannot control. This is emotional overreach. A boundary reminds you, you are responsible for your actions, not for the emotions of others. When you let go of what is not yours, your mind begins to breathe again. Boundaries also create emotional safety. When your mental space is protected, you are less reactive, less sensitive to negativity, less overwhelmed by sudden stress. You remain centered, even when situations around you become unstable. Emotional safety allows clarity to grow, and clarity allows strength to emerge. Consistency is crucial. A boundary loses its power if it is not upheld. If you say you need time alone, honor it. If you say you cannot accept certain behavior, stand firmly. If you say you will not take on more responsibilities, keep that promise. When you enforce your boundaries consistently, your mind learns it can trust you. That self-trust becomes one of the greatest sources of inner stability. Boundaries are not built overnight. They develop with practice, just like discipline or emotional strength. At first, setting boundaries may feel uncomfortable, but over time, you will notice something profound. Your stress decreases, your clarity increases, your relationships become healthier, your days feel lighter, your mind feels cleaner, your sense of self becomes stronger. A life without boundaries is chaotic. confusing, and emotionally draining. A life with boundaries is clear, intentional, and deeply peaceful. When you protect your mental space, you create room for growth, for creativity, for rest, for self-discovery, and for the future you want to build. You create a mind that can handle challenges without collapsing. You create an inner world that feels safe to live inside. This is how you protect your mental space. You choose what enters. You choose what stays. You choose what you release. And through those choices, you build a life that honors your emotional well-being every single day. Chapter 6. Shape habits that build your emotional stability. Emotional stability is not something you are born with. It is something you build. It is shaped through small daily habits that strengthen your mind, regulate your emotions, and create a sense of inner steadiness. Many people wait for their emotions to calm down on their own, but waiting is not a strategy. Emotional balance is not a gift. It is a structure built through consistent actions that support your inner world. When you shape habits that build emotional stability, you give yourself a reliable foundation that holds you up during difficult seasons and keeps you grounded during ordinary days. You stop reacting impulsively and start responding with clarity. You stop being controlled by emotional waves and begin navigating them with awareness. You stop feeling overwhelmed by small challenges because your emotional base becomes stronger than the pressures around you. One of the first habits that strengthens emotional stability is checking in with yourself early in the day. Most people wake up and immediately step into motion, rushing, scrolling, responding, reacting. When your day begins in chaos, your emotions follow that pace. A simple pause in the morning, before the world enters your mind, helps you understand your emotional temperature. Are you stressed, calm, tense, avoiding something? This awareness allows you to guide your mindset instead of surrendering to it. When you know how you feel, you choose your responses consciously instead of reacting automatically. Another habit that stabilizes your emotions is maintaining an environment that supports your clarity. Your surroundings influence your inner world more than you realize. A cluttered space creates a cluttered mind. Constant noise fractures your focus. Disorganized environments drain your energy. When you take a few minutes each day to organize your space, you're not just cleaning your environment, you're cleaning your emotional field. Order invites calm. Calm invites clarity. A crucial habit for emotional stability is taking responsibility for your thoughts. Thoughts shape emotions faster than any external event. If your mental dialogue is harsh, fearful, or chaotic, your emotions mirror that. Emotional instability often begins with mental instability. Shaping this habit means paying attention to the internal stories you repeat. When you think, "I can't handle this," your emotions respond with anxiety. When you think, "I can face this step by step," your emotions follow with strength. You are not trying to force unrealistic positivity. You are creating thinking patterns that support your stability instead of attacking it. Another powerful habit is steady breathing. When stress rises, the body reacts before the mind has time to interpret. Your breath shortens, your muscles tighten, your heart speeds up. Without awareness, this physical reaction can spiral into emotional overwhelm. But when you respond to tension with slow, controlled breathing, you send a signal to your nervous system. You are safe. Your emotions follow that signal. Breath is the remote control of your emotional state. Using it consciously gives you control in moments where you once felt powerless. Emotional stability also requires the habit of protecting your energy. Many people give their emotional energy away too freely. responding to every message instantly, engaging in unnecessary conflicts, absorbing the emotions of others, saying yes to draining commitments. This constant output leaves your inner world depleted. Stability grows when you reserve your energy for what matters. Protect your focus, protect your time, protect your attention. When you stop letting everything enter your mind, your emotions stop being pulled in every direction. Another essential habit is rest. Emotional instability often comes from chronic fatigue. When your body is tired, your patience shrinks, your reactions intensify, and small problems feel overwhelming. Rest is not a luxury. It is maintenance. Even short moments of pause throughout the day help your nervous system reset. When you allow yourself rest without guilt, you give your emotions space to recalibrate. A habit that deeply strengthens emotional stability is healthy emotional expression. Suppressed emotions do not vanish. They expand. They turn into irritability, heaviness, and mental clutter. Expressing your emotions does not mean dramatizing them. It means acknowledging what you feel, naming it, and allowing it to move through you instead of storing it. You can express emotions through journaling, talking to someone you trust, or simply admitting them to yourself. Expression clears internal pressure. It frees your mind. Another transformative habit is pausing before responding. Many emotional problems come from quick reactions, not actual situations. When you pause, even for a moment, you allow your mind to catch up. You let your emotions settle. You choose your response instead of reacting from impulse. This habit changes communication, reduces conflict, and strengthens maturity. Gratitude is also a powerful stabilizer. Gratitude shifts your attention from what is missing to what is present. It does not deny difficulties, it balances them. Even small moments of appreciation anchor you in reality instead of emotional fear. Gratitude is not a spiritual cliché. It is a psychological rebalancing tool. It reminds your mind that life is not only made of challenges, it is also filled with support, progress, and quiet blessings. Another important habit is limiting exposure to emotional triggers. Everyone has specific people, environments, or behaviors that destabilize them. Emotional stability doesn't come from avoiding challenges. It comes from managing your exposure with awareness. When you stop voluntarily walking into situations that drain your emotional strength, stability grows naturally. A powerful practice for emotional stability is setting daily emotional intentions. Just as you choose your goals, you can choose how you want to feel today. Patient, grounded, focused, calm. When you set an intention, your mind looks for behaviors that support that feeling. You begin shaping your emotional tone instead of letting circumstances decide it for you. Consistency is also essential. Many people believe emotional transformation requires dramatic change, but emotional strength grows through small, repeated habits. Short moments of calm, short moments of clarity, short moments of intentional thought. These accumulate and rewire your emotional patterns over time. Another habit that stabilizes your emotions is reducing self-judgment. Many emotional struggles come not from life, but from how people treat themselves internally. Harsh self-talk weakens your resilience. Gentle accountability strengthens it. Treating yourself with fairness, even when correcting mistakes, builds emotional safety. When your inner world feels safe, your emotions stabilize. Routine is another anchor. Consistent routines create predictability, and predictability calms the mind. Simple routines, waking up at a similar time, having a short morning ritual, maintaining consistent sleep patterns, signal your nervous system to relax. Chaos dissolves, stability grows. Finally, emotional stability is strengthened by presence. Anxiety pulls you into the future. Regret pulls you into the past. Presence anchors you in the moment. When you focus on what is happening now, this breath, this task, this conversation, your emotions remain grounded. You stop carrying weight from moments that are not here. These habits, practiced consistently, reshape your emotional landscape. They create resilience. They create calm. They create clarity. Emotional stability is not a mystery. It is a daily practice. And once your emotional world becomes stable, every part of your life becomes clearer and more powerful. You move through your days with confidence, understanding, and depth. You become harder to shake. Emotional stability becomes your strength, a strength you build, one habit at a time. Chapter 7. Focus attention on what grows your potential. Your potential expands or contracts based on where you place your attention. Most people never reach the level of growth they are capable of, not because they lack talent, intelligence, or opportunity, but because their attention is scattered across too many insignificant things. They spread their mental energy thin, reacting to noise instead of choosing what deserves focus. And as their attention fragments, their potential remains dormant. But when you learn to focus your attention on what grows your potential, your life begins to shift. Your thoughts sharpen, your direction strengthens, your progress accelerates. You begin building from the inside out instead of being shaped by external distractions. Most people lose their potential to urgency, not purpose. They spend hours reacting to messages, scrolling through meaningless content, absorbing negativity, debating opinions, and managing tasks that contribute nothing to their long-term growth. When your attention is consumed by what is urgent but unimportant, your potential is starved. Your potential grows when your attention is directed toward actions, ideas, and environments that expand who you are. This begins with clarity. You must understand what matters to you, your values, your aspirations, your long-term direction. When you identify what is essential, everything else naturally becomes less important. You stop giving your attention to situations that drain you. You stop spending hours on distractions that weaken your focus. You become selective, not because you are rigid, but because you understand that your attention is a limited resource and a powerful creative force. A major part of focusing your attention on what grows your potential is learning to identify what pulls you away from your path. Every person has distractions that feel harmless, but quietly steal growth. Perhaps it's a habit that numbs your mind, a conversation that drains your confidence, a person whose energy pulls you into negativity, a routine that keeps you stagnant. These distractions do not destroy you dramatically. They weaken you gradually. They dissolve your strength in small, consistent ways. Awareness of these drains is the first step. Once you notice what fragments your attention, you can consciously redirect it. Each time you choose focus over distraction, you reinforce your potential. Your potential grows through skill development. Every dream requires certain abilities: communication, discipline, creativity, emotional intelligence, strategic thinking, leadership, technical proficiency. When you devote daily attention to developing even one skill, your future expands. Potential is not unlocked all at once. It is built through repeated learning, through consistent stretching of your mind, through choosing growth over avoidance. Many people avoid growth because they feel overwhelmed by the size of their dreams. They look at the distance between who they are now and who they want to become and feel discouraged. But potential does not grow in leaps. It grows in steps. A small amount of focused attention each day is more powerful than sporadic bursts of intense effort. It is the consistency that transforms you. Attention also determines who influences your growth. Humans absorb the energy around them. When you spend time with people who complain, fear change, or shrink from responsibility, your potential shrinks too. When you surround yourself with people who challenge you, believe in growth, and embody responsibility, your potential rises naturally. You begin to mirror their strength. Their mindset becomes a signal for your own evolution. Focusing attention on your potential also means choosing the information you consume. Everything you read, watch, or listen to shapes your thinking. If your consumption is negative or mindless, your inner world becomes cluttered. But when you consume content that inspires you, educates you, stretches your thinking, or elevates your beliefs, your mind becomes fertile ground for growth. Education is not confined to classrooms. Every moment is an opportunity to learn. Another way to grow your potential is by setting meaningful goals. When you lack direction, your attention has no purpose. It wanders, seeking stimulation. But when you set a clear goal, your attention aligns with it. You wake up with direction instead of confusion. You choose actions that move you forward instead of sideways. Every step, no matter how small, becomes a deliberate part of your growth. Your potential also grows when you focus on habits that strengthen your daily life. These include planning, journaling, self-reflection, physical movement, and maintaining routines that support your emotional and mental stability. Structure frees your mind from chaos and allows your potential to rise without friction. Mindfulness is another powerful attention-shaping practice. Mindfulness trains your attention to stay in the present instead of drifting toward worry or regret. When your attention stays in the now, you think more clearly, make better choices, and respond instead of react. Presence increases your potential because it sharpens your ability to act intentionally instead of automatically. A transformative shift happens when you decide to focus on progress instead of perfection. Perfection traps your attention in fear. Fear of making mistakes, fear of disappointing yourself, fear of falling short. When you chase perfection, you hesitate, you delay action, you overthink. But when you focus on progress, you free yourself to grow. Progress is movement. Progress is learning. Progress is momentum. And momentum is one of the greatest forces behind human potential. Another way attention grows potential is through emotional awareness. When you pay attention to what frustrates you, discourages you, or causes you to shut down, you gain insight into your emotional patterns. This awareness allows you to respond with maturity instead of being controlled by your reactions. Emotional mastery amplifies potential because it strengthens your decision-making and resilience. Your long-term vision also deserves your attention. Many people live only in the short term, constantly reacting to immediate demands. But your potential expands when you think beyond today. When you consider the kind of life you want years from now, your daily choices gain meaning. You stop wasting energy on temporary distractions because your long-term direction becomes more important. Focusing your attention on your strengths is another way to increase your potential. Most people obsess over their weaknesses, forgetting the power of the abilities they already possess. When you identify your strengths, your natural gifts, your learned skills, your emotional advantages, you gain confidence. Confidence increases willingness. Willingness increases action. Action increases potential. Finally, potential grows when you focus attention on your well-being. Your mind cannot function at its highest level when your body is neglected or your spirit is drained. When you prioritize rest, nourishment, mental clarity, and emotional hygiene, you give your potential the physical foundation it needs to rise. Your attention is the architect of your growth. Where it goes, your life follows. Where it strengthens, your future expands. When you commit to focusing attention on what grows your potential, you reclaim the power that distraction once stole from you. You begin shaping a life rooted in intention, clarity, and self-leadership. Your potential does not rise by accident. It rises where your attention is invested. Chapter 8. Develop routines that reinforce your personal direction. A life without routine is a life ruled by chance. You wake up hoping the day will go well, hoping motivation will appear, hoping clarity will rise on its own. But hope is not a strategy. Hope has no structure. Hope has no spine. Without routines, even the strongest intention dissolves into scattered actions, emotional turbulence, and wasted time. Routines are not cages. They are compasses. They do not trap you. They guide you. They shape your energy, organize your priorities, and create the momentum required for meaningful growth. A routine is simply a set of repeated choices that reinforce the person you want to become. When you develop routines that align with your personal direction, you stop drifting through your days and start designing them with intention. Every habit becomes a brick in the foundation of your future. A strong routine begins with clarity. You must know where you want to go before you choose the habits that carry you there. Many people skip this step. They create routines based on trends, pressure, or imitation, then wonder why their lives still feel disconnected and chaotic. A routine, no matter how polished, cannot support you if it is not built for your direction. When your routine reflects your values, your long-term goals, and the identity you want to build, something powerful happens. Your days gain rhythm. Your mind gains structure. Your life gains traction. One of the most vital parts of creating a supportive routine is designing your morning with intention. The morning is where your day receives its emotional and mental temperature. If you begin in chaos, rushing, scrolling, reacting, you carry that energy into every hour that follows. But when you begin with clarity, your attention becomes focused and your nervous system becomes steady. A powerful morning routine does not need to be long. It needs to be aligned. Even a few minutes of grounding, reflection, journaling, movement, or silence can transform the emotional tone of the entire day. The key principle is this: start your day before the world starts it for you. When your morning is intentional, your direction remains intact. Another important part of routine building is protecting your priorities. Every day contains dozens of tasks, but not all tasks carry the same weight. Some actions expand your future. Others maintain your present. Many do nothing at all. When you place high-value actions early in your day, you ensure your best energy is used where it matters most. This prevents the common trap of spending all your effort on unimportant tasks and leaving the important ones undone. Routines protect you from decision fatigue. The human mind can only make so many decisions before clarity fades. A well-built routine eliminates unnecessary choices by turning important behaviors into automatic actions. When your routine handles the basics, your mind becomes free to think deeper, create more boldly, and solve more intelligently. Your cognitive bandwidth increases. Routines also build trust in yourself. Every time you follow through on a routine, you strengthen your identity as someone who is consistent, disciplined, and reliable. This self-trust becomes an engine inside you. It fuels confidence, reduces self-doubt, and makes bigger goals feel more attainable. You begin believing in yourself not because of blind optimism, but because of repeated evidence. Routines support emotional stability as well. Life is unpredictable, but routines give you something steady to return to. When stress rises, when pressure builds, when unexpected events disrupt your schedule, your routine becomes a safe reset point. It grounds you. It brings you back to center. It reminds you who you are and what you are building. Another powerful aspect of routines is their ability to eliminate distractions. When your day has structure, distractions lose their influence. You subconsciously create boundaries around your attention. You become less reactive to noise and more protective of your time. This naturally improves focus, productivity, and emotional clarity. A balanced routine includes recovery. Many people burn out because they build routines that demand output but ignore restoration. The mind and body need cycles of effort and cycles of rest. When your routine includes moments of quiet, reflection, stretching, sleep, or intentional stillness, your long-term capacity expands. You become more resilient, more energized, and more capable of sustained growth. Routines strengthen clarity as well. As you engage repeatedly in habits aligned with your direction, you begin understanding yourself more deeply. You notice what energizes you and what drains you. You see patterns in your behavior, in your thinking, and in your emotional responses. This clarity becomes a guiding force that helps you make wiser decisions and avoid old patterns that once held you back. Consistency is the backbone of any routine. Many people abandon routines when results don't appear quickly. They assume the routine isn't working, but growth often happens beneath the surface before it becomes visible. A routine keeps you moving during the quiet phases. It maintains your momentum. It prevents you from stopping when progress is silent. Routines make growth manageable. Instead of needing dramatic effort, you grow through small, steady steps. You do not fear the mountain because you are focused on the next step. You gain confidence without overwhelming yourself. Your routines should be aligned with your values. For example, if you value health, your routine supports your body. If you value learning, your routine includes reading or study time. If you value peace, your routine protects your mental space. If you value discipline, your routine includes structure and consistency. Routines are mirrors that reflect who you are becoming. When your routines align with your values, your life feels meaningful, grounded, and authentic. You feel connected to your direction, not because of motivation, but because your daily actions reinforce it. Developing routines that support your personal direction is how you transform intention into reality. It is how you move from hope to consistency, from floating to building, from dreaming to living. When your routines align with your purpose, your days gain power, your mind gains clarity, your life gains momentum, and your future begins to rise, one deliberate habit at a time. Chapter 9. Take steps that honor your long goals. A long goal is a promise you make to your future self. It is a direction that requires patience, consistency, and the courage to choose what supports your growth, rather than what comforts your present moment. Yet most people live with dreams that never transform into reality, not because the dream is impossible, but because their daily steps contradict the future they say they want. Taking steps that honor your long goals is not about dramatic leaps. It is about alignment. It is about integrity. It is about acting in a way that respects the life you are building. When your steps match your intentions, your future begins to take shape naturally, steadily, and with purpose. The first part of this process is clarity. You must know what you truly want, not what society wants for you, not what others expect from you, not what fear pushes you toward. What you want, your direction, your values, your vision. When you become honest about your long-term desires, your path shifts. You stop chasing short-term pleasure. You stop giving attention to distractions that pull you backward. You stop trading your future for temporary comfort. Clarity turns a long goal from an idea into an anchor. Every action begins to revolve around it. Many people underestimate the power of a small step. They think transformation requires huge leaps or sudden breakthroughs. But a long goal is not built through intensity. It is built through repetition. It is built through consistency. It is built through choosing progress, even when progress is small. When you take steady steps, you shift your identity. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to act like someone who finishes what they start. You begin to show the universe that you are serious about your direction. Each small step becomes a declaration. My future matters. Honoring your long goals also requires examining your habits. Every habit you keep either supports your future or sabotages it. Some habits strengthen your discipline, sharpen your focus, and lift your confidence. Others drain your energy, distract your mind, and weaken your momentum. When you take responsibility for your habits, you stop pretending that your future will change without effort. You begin building routines that support the person you want to become. This process often requires subtraction. Growth is not only about adding new habits. It is about removing the ones that pull you away from your direction. Letting go is not weakness. Letting go is refinement. It is choosing a cleaner path for your future self. A major part of honoring your long goals is learning to say no. Many people stay stuck because they agree to things that distract, drain, or deplete them. They say yes to obligations that do not serve their path. They say yes out of guilt, pressure, fear, or habit. But every unnecessary yes steals time, energy, and mental space from the life you are trying to build. When you say no to what does not align, you are actually saying yes to your future. This is not selfishness. It is discipline. Honoring your long goals also means accepting discomfort. Growth demands responsibility. It asks you to leave behind old patterns, familiar routines, and emotional habits that once felt safe. You cannot step into a stronger future while holding on to the comforts of your past. Discomfort is not a sign you are on the wrong path. It is a sign that you are expanding. It is the stretch required for transformation. Discomfort is temporary, but the growth it creates is permanent. Another essential part of honoring long goals is evaluation. Many people work hard, but never check whether their actions are actually taking them in the right direction. They repeat the same effort without improvement. They confuse activity with progress. But true growth requires reflection. When you evaluate your steps regularly, you gain clarity. You discover what is moving you forward and what needs adjustment. You prevent months or years of wasted effort. You refine your direction with intelligence instead of wandering blindly. Mindset is also a crucial part of honoring long goals. A long goal requires resilience. Not the loud, dramatic kind, but the steady resilience that keeps you moving when progress is slow, challenges appear, and motivation fades. When your mindset is strong, setbacks lose their power. You stop interpreting delay as failure. You stop letting fear control your pace. You understand that growth requires time, and you learn to trust the process, even when results are not immediately visible. Honoring your long goals also involves choosing the right environment. The people around you shape your thinking more than you realize. If you surround yourself with individuals who avoid responsibility, complain constantly, or fear growth, they weaken your direction. But when you surround yourself with people who value commitment, discipline, and progress, your focus sharpens, your motivation rises, your standards lift, you feel supported, inspired, and accountable. Your environment can either accelerate your growth or erode it. Choose wisely. Time management plays a key role too. Time is the currency of your future. If you spend it on meaningless activities, your goals slow. If you invest it intentionally, your progress accelerates. This does not mean working endlessly. It means aligning your time with your priorities. It means giving your best hours to what supports your future. It means structuring your day in a way that honors your direction. Patience is another part of this process. Many people abandon their long goals because results do not appear quickly. They expect immediate change from long-term work. But real transformation takes time. It grows quietly before it grows visibly. When you become patient, you stop rushing your progress. You stop comparing yourself to others. You stop expecting perfection. Patience allows you to stay committed even when growth is slow. It stabilizes your mindset and strengthens your discipline. Taking steps that honor your long goals also requires responsibility. You must take ownership of your future, not waiting for perfect conditions, not waiting for motivation, not waiting for someone to guide you. Responsibility is the moment you realize that your life is created through your daily choices. When you take responsibility, you step into adulthood, not in age, but in identity. You become the architect of your direction instead of the passenger of your circumstances. Flexibility is equally important. Long goals require perseverance, but they also require adaptation. Life will shift. Plans will need adjustment. Circumstances will evolve. Flexibility allows you to stay committed to the goal while adjusting the path. It keeps you moving forward instead of breaking under pressure. Flexibility is strength, not compromise. And finally, honoring your long goals reconnects you with your deeper purpose. Every step you take becomes meaningful. You begin to feel proud of yourself. You see your life taking shape through your choices. Your confidence rises because you are living with intention. Your direction feels real, not as a dream, but as a path. When you honor your long goals, you transform your future into something you actively build. You rise above distraction. You mature beyond excuses. You step into the strongest version of yourself. Every long goal requires steps that match its significance. And when your steps honor your direction, your future begins to rise. Quietly, steadily, powerfully. Chapter 10. Design choices that strengthen your daily growth. If the shape of your life is determined by your long-term goals, then the quality of your life is determined by your daily choices. Every choice you make, small or large, shifts your direction. Every action sends a message to your subconscious mind about who you are becoming. Over time, your choices carve your character, sculpt your habits, and define your potential. Designing choices that strengthen your daily growth means refusing to live on autopilot. It means refusing to let your moods, impulses, or distractions dictate your path. It means stepping into each day as the creator of your life rather than a participant of circumstance. Growth does not arrive through hope. It arrives through design. Your day becomes your training ground. Your mind becomes your instrument. Your choices become your tools. Daily growth begins with clarity. You must understand the areas of your life you want to elevate: your emotional stability, your discipline, your self-respect, your skill set, your physical health, your mindset, your relationships, your purpose. Once you identify these areas, you design choices that reinforce them. You create a personal ecosystem where growth becomes the natural outcome of how you live. A critical part of designing growth-based choices is understanding the difference between actions that weaken you and actions that elevate you. Every day presents thousands of potential choices. Some lift you, some drain you, some keep you stagnant. Most people move through their day unaware of this dynamic. They react to noise, follow emotion, and choose convenience. As a result, their energy is diluted and their growth stalls. But when you become conscious of how each choice affects your direction, you begin choosing with intention. You stop pouring energy into habits that keep you stuck. You stop allowing temporary emotions to steer your day. You start selecting actions that support the future you want to build. This is how self-leadership begins, with awareness, honesty, and deliberate choice. Another key principle is sustainability. Many people attempt sudden transformation through extreme effort. They push intensely for a short burst, then collapse back into old patterns. Growth does not thrive under pressure. Growth thrives under rhythm. When you design choices that are manageable and repeatable, you create consistency. And consistency is the force that reshapes identity. A single powerful choice is inspiring. A series of small, meaningful choices is life-changing. Your daily growth also depends on the information you feed your mind. Mental input becomes mental output. What you consume shapes how you think, how you behave, and how you respond. If you consume negativity, conflict, distraction, or chaos, your mind mirrors that energy. But if you choose content that aligns with your values, content that inspires, educates, strengthens, or elevates, you evolve. Your thoughts become clearer. Your beliefs expand. Your resilience strengthens. Your mind is a garden. Every piece of information is a seed. Choose wisely what you plant. Daily growth requires supporting your physical foundation as well. Your body is not separate from your mind. It is the vessel that carries your energy, your clarity, and your discipline. When you choose to move your body, nourish it, rest it, and care for it, your emotional and mental states strengthen. You think better, react better, and perform better. A strong future cannot be built on an exhausted foundation. Another essential choice is engagement. Engaging with your day, rather than simply passing through it. Many people drift through their routines, half-aware, repeating patterns without reflection. But when you become an observer of your own life, when you pay attention to your feelings, your behaviors, your triggers, your progress, you become powerful. Awareness leads to correction. Correction leads to growth. Designing growth-based choices requires responsibility. Excuses weaken growth because they shift your power outward. When you choose responsibility over excuses, you reclaim control. You stop waiting for motivation. You stop blaming circumstances. You stop expecting results without effort. Responsibility converts challenges into opportunities for skill development. It turns setbacks into fuel. Another foundational principle is self-honesty. Growth requires seeing yourself clearly, not with judgment, but with truth. You must be honest when you fall off track. Honest when fear is guiding your choices. Honest when comfort is holding you back. Honest when distractions are consuming your time. Honesty removes confusion and accelerates change. You cannot improve what you refuse to acknowledge. Daily growth is also strengthened by protecting your focus. Your attention is one of the most valuable assets you possess. When it is scattered, your growth becomes weak. When it is concentrated, your growth becomes powerful. Protecting your focus means reducing noise, limiting distractions, choosing environments that support concentration, and dedicating uninterrupted time to meaningful work, reflection, or practice. Every moment you protect your focus, you invest in your potential. Another choice that strengthens daily growth is choosing learning over stagnation. Growth slows when your mind stops seeking new perspectives. But when you choose to learn, through reading, observing, practicing, exploring, or listening, you expand your intelligence and your creativity. Learning keeps your mind flexible and capable of adapting to new challenges. It sharpens your decision-making and deepens your understanding of yourself and the world. Growth also requires choosing improvement over perfection. Perfection is the enemy of progress. It creates fear. Fear freezes action. Action is how growth happens. When you choose improvement, small, imperfect, intentional steps, you maintain momentum. You value learning over looking flawless. You become kinder to yourself and more capable of long-term transformation. Daily growth thrives when you choose meaningful interactions. The energy of the people you engage with affects your direction. If your interactions drain your clarity or weaken your confidence, growth slows. But when you choose conversations that uplift, challenge, or inspire you, you strengthen your mindset. One powerful conversation can redirect an entire day. Another important choice is adaptability. Growth is not linear. Plans shift. Conditions change. Challenges interrupt routines. When you choose adaptability, you stay in motion even when circumstances evolve. You adjust without breaking your commitment. Adaptability maintains momentum. Reflection is another critical choice. Reflection turns experience into wisdom. When you reflect at the end of the day on what you did well, what you struggled with, what you learned, you accelerate your growth. You stop repeating cycles unconsciously. You gain clarity on your patterns. You understand yourself more deeply. Reflection is the doorway to mastery. Every choice you make is a vote for the person you want to become. Daily choices are the building blocks of identity, discipline, purpose, and potential. When you design choices that strengthen your growth, you become the architect of your future. You cultivate a life shaped by intention rather than habit. Growth does not come from one great decision. It comes from thousands of small ones. Choices that align, choices that uplift, choices that build, choices that strengthen, choices that move your life in the direction you truly desire. This is how you grow, not by accident, but by design. Chapter 11. Align your environment with your future self. Every goal you pursue, every habit you build, and every identity you are trying to grow is quietly shaped by one powerful and often overlooked force: your environment. Your environment influences your behavior more consistently than motivation, more subtly than discipline, and more persuasively than willpower. It surrounds you, signals you, nudges you, and shapes you, whether you are aware of it or not. When your environment aligns with your future self, growth becomes natural. When your environment contradicts your future self, growth becomes a struggle. Most people try to transform their lives while living inside environments designed for their old identity. They try to build discipline inside clutter. They try to cultivate peace inside noise. They try to pursue growth while surrounded by distractions, draining energies, or habits that reinforce everything they are trying to outgrow. An environment is not just a physical space. It is everything that influences your inner world. It is the room you wake up in, the energy of the people around you, the digital spaces you consume, the objects that signal old habits, the routines embedded in your surroundings, the emotional atmosphere you live inside. Your environment can lift your frequency or lower it. It can strengthen your clarity or cloud it. It can support your future or sabotage it silently. When you align your environment with your future self, you create conditions in which growth becomes effortless, natural, and sustainable. Your physical space shapes your mind. The human brain responds directly to its surroundings. Chaos in your environment breeds chaos in your thinking. Clutter creates decision fatigue. Disorder increases emotional friction. A scattered space produces a scattered mind. But when your environment is organized, your mind feels lighter. When your space is clear, your thoughts become more precise. When your surroundings reflect intention, your actions begin to do the same. This is not about aesthetics. It is about psychological support. Make your environment reflect who you want to become, not who you used to be. Remove objects that signal old habits. Add symbols that remind you of your growth. Create physical cues for the behavior you want to strengthen. Place your tools for progress where you can't ignore them. Remove your triggers for distraction from easy reach. Your space should not reflect your past. It should activate your potential. Your social environment shapes your identity. Identity is contagious. Mindsets spread. Energy transfers. Habits ripple through social circles. You become like the people you are around, not because you intend to, but because the nervous system mirrors what it repeatedly encounters. If you are surrounded by people who doubt themselves, avoid responsibility, or resist growth, their energy begins to influence your self-image. If your environment is filled with negativity, gossip, or fear, it lowers your emotional vibration. But when you choose relationships that reflect your future, people who take responsibility, think with clarity, act with purpose, and grow with intention, you rise naturally. You grow simply by being in their presence. You align with their frequency. You do not need perfection around you. You need alignment. Choose environments that make your future self feel at home. Your digital environment shapes your attention. Your digital world is an environment that never turns off. It influences your thinking, your mood, your beliefs, your focus, your discipline, and your energy. If your digital environment is filled with noise, conflict, distraction, negativity, comparison, chaos, then your inner world begins to mirror it. But when your digital space contains education, inspiration, clarity, useful information, skill-building content, supportive communities, your thinking expands, your motivation strengthens, your perspective evolves, your emotional state rises. You must curate your digital environment with the same precision you curate your physical one. Unfollow noise, remove triggers, block distractions. Choose input that supports your long-term direction. Your attention is too precious to be contaminated by meaningless consumption. Your energetic environment shapes your frequency. Every environment has a vibration, subtle but powerful. Some spaces lift you, some drain you, some calm your nervous system, some agitate it, some make you expand, some make you shrink. Your subconscious mind responds instinctively to energetic signals. Light, sound, color, air, movement, temperature, and even the emotional residue left in a space. When you begin aligning your energetic environment with your future self, something profound happens. Your internal state begins to rise without effort. You feel supported. You feel grounded. You feel capable. You feel steady. This is not spirituality. It is biology. Your nervous system thrives in environments that feel safe, clear, and intentional. Your routine environment shapes your behavior. Your environment is not static. It includes the path you walk every morning, the places you frequent, the systems you set up for yourself, the routines embedded around you. When your routine environment supports your growth, your behavior strengthens naturally. When your routine environment triggers old patterns, your progress collapses. If you want to build a new identity, your daily environments must not resemble the ones where the old identity was created. Change where you work. Change where you think. Change the cues you see. Change the pathways you follow. Even subtle changes disrupt old patterns and create space for new ones to form. Your environment must match your future, not your past. Most people try to grow while staying inside environments that keep them emotionally and psychologically small. They attempt transformation while surrounded by triggers of their old self. They expect new behavior to emerge in spaces that reinforce old habits. But a powerful truth emerges once you understand the psychology of growth. You grow into the environments you choose, not the ones you outgrow. When your environment reflects your future self, your behavior naturally shifts to match it. Your routines align, your habits stabilize, your choices become clearer, your identity rises. This is why people transform when they move to a new city, change their social circle, start a new job, or redesign their space. The shift in environment signals their brain that a new identity is required. But you do not need to uproot your life dramatically. You can redesign your environment intentionally, piece by piece. The environment you create is the future you build. Aligning your environment with your future self is one of the most powerful forms of self-respect. You are telling your mind, "This is who I am now. This is where I'm going. This space supports my evolution." When your environment is aligned with your purpose, you no longer fight yourself. You no longer rely on motivation alone. You no longer fall into old patterns unconsciously. Your environment becomes your silent partner. Your surroundings reinforce your discipline. Your space becomes a reflection of your rising identity. Growth stops being difficult because the world around you is finally helping you grow. Chapter 12. Build self-trust through consistent alignment. Self-trust is one of the greatest sources of inner power a human can develop. It is the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can rely on yourself. Not sometimes, not only on good days, but consistently. When you trust yourself, you move through life differently. You walk with clarity. You make decisions without fear. You act with conviction. You follow through on your intentions because your identity is rooted in reliability. But self-trust is not built through thoughts. It is built through alignment, through the repeated experience of being someone who does what they said they would do. Most people want confidence without the behaviors that generate it. They want belief without proof. They want certainty without consistency. But self-trust is not something you talk yourself into. It is something you earn through action. Every day, your mind watches you. It observes what you do. It remembers what you avoid. It records every decision. When your actions contradict your intentions, your mind learns that your words carry no weight. When you say, "I will," but you don't, your subconscious learns that your commitments are optional. When you choose comfort over integrity, your identity weakens. This is why many people feel uncertain, insecure, or unstable, not because they are incapable, but because their inner world no longer trusts their promises. Self-trust grows when your daily choices align with your deeper values. When your behavior reflects your purpose, your mind relaxes. When your actions match your direction, your confidence rises. When your choices support your identity, you become internally unshakable. Self-trust begins with small promises. You do not build trust by transforming your entire life in one stroke. You build it through small, simple commitments that you keep consistently. I will finish this task. I will take care of my body today. I will follow my plan. I will act according to my values. I will honor what matters to me. Every time you keep a small promise, your mind records a victory. It gathers evidence. It updates your identity. Over time, these micro moments create a powerful internal shift. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through. This is the foundation of quiet, unbreakable self-confidence. Self-trust requires honesty with yourself. You cannot trust someone who lies to you, even if that someone is you. Self-trust requires honesty about what you feel, what you avoid, what you want, what you fear, what you can handle, what you must change. Honesty is not self-criticism. It is clarity. Without clarity, you cannot take aligned action. Without aligned action, you cannot build trust. When you finally admit the truth about your patterns, your distractions, your excuses, your strengths, and your weaknesses, you regain control. You stop negotiating with your limitations. You start upgrading them. Honesty is the doorway. Action is the path. Consistency is the proof. Self-trust grows when you stop abandoning yourself. Most people lose trust in themselves because they repeatedly abandon their own needs, priorities, or boundaries just to please others, avoid discomfort, escape responsibility, seek approval, numb their emotions, stay in familiar environments. Each time you choose others over your own self-respect, your inner world feels betrayed. Each time you silence your deeper needs, you weaken your identity. Each time you act against your own well-being, you disconnect from yourself. Self-trust is rebuilt when you refuse to abandon yourself again, when you choose responsibility over avoidance, when you choose integrity over comfort, when you choose alignment over approval. Your future self cannot grow if your present self keeps breaking the foundation. Self-trust requires boundaries. You cannot trust yourself if you constantly let your environment dictate your actions. Boundaries protect your energy, your time, and your emotional stability. They reinforce your dignity. They teach your mind that your needs matter. A boundary says, I respect myself enough to protect my direction. Every time you uphold a boundary, your inner world strengthens. Every time you allow one to be broken, your inner world weakens. Boundaries are not about rejecting others. They are about choosing yourself with clarity and maturity. Self-trust requires handling difficult moments with integrity. Anyone can trust themselves when life is easy. Real self-trust is built during moments of boredom, fatigue, fear, temptation, frustration, uncertainty. These are the moments when your identity is tested. These are the moments that determine whether you grow or shrink. When you act with integrity during difficulty, you send a strong signal to your subconscious. I can depend on myself, even when conditions are not ideal. This is the kind of inner strength that cannot be taken from you. Self-trust strengthens when you repair. Instead of punish, you will slip. You will break promises. You will make mistakes. You will fall back into old patterns at times. This is human. Self-trust is not built by demanding perfection. It is built through recovery. After a setback, most people respond with guilt or self-criticism. This weakens trust further. The mind learns that mistakes make you turn against yourself. But when you respond with responsibility, reflection, and recalibration, your mind learns something different. Even when I fall, I come back. Recovery builds trust more than perfection ever could. Self-trust requires living in alignment with your values. Your deepest strength comes from values, not rules, not pressure, not expectations. Values. Self-trust rises when your actions honor your values. It collapses when your actions violate them. To strengthen your daily alignment, know what you stand for. Know who you want to become. Know which behaviors reflect that identity. Know which behaviors pull you away from it. Then, design your steps accordingly. When your life aligns with your values, you feel whole. When your choices contradict your values, you feel divided. Self-trust is built through inner unity. Self-trust creates a spiral of growth. When you trust yourself, everything changes. You stop overthinking. You make decisions faster. You stop needing external validation. You stop negotiating your boundaries. You stop shrinking to fit others. You stop breaking your own commitments. You act with clarity and confidence. Self-trust creates momentum. Momentum strengthens identity. Identity shapes behavior. Behavior builds results. Results reinforce trust. This is the upward spiral that transforms lives. Your future depends on the trust you build with yourself today. Everything you dream of, your stability, your growth, your abundance, your discipline, your wisdom, depends on the level of trust you cultivate within. Self-trust is the foundation of every chapter that comes after this one. It is the internal structure that allows your future to rise. Because once you trust yourself deeply, fully, consistently, no environment, no challenge, no setback, and no opinion can stop your growth. You become unstoppable from the inside out. Conclusion. The life you build from within. There comes a moment when you realize your life didn't change because the world shifted. It changed because you did. You became more intentional, more aware, more disciplined, more aligned. You learned to lead your days instead of drifting through them. You learned to trust yourself, direct your energy, and master your inner world so your outer world could finally rise. This audiobook has been a blueprint for lasting transformation. Not the temporary kind built on hype, but the kind built from the inside out. The life you want cannot be built on impulse or scattered effort. It must be built on clarity, discipline, intention, and alignment. One choice, one habit, one steady step at a time. Your future is not something you wait for. It is something you create. You now understand the architecture of a strong life. Intentions that guide you. Actions aligned with your values. Awareness of your patterns. Discipline that carries you beyond motivation. Boundaries that protect your mind. Habits that stabilize your emotions. Focus that expands your potential. Routines that reinforce direction. Steps that honor long-term goals. Environments that support your evolution. Self-trust that grounds your identity, and inner mastery that shapes your reality. Together, these elements form the system that keeps your life moving forward with purpose. Your power was never missing, only untapped. Everything you need has always lived within you. Now you know how to access it deliberately, regulating your inner state, choosing with intention, creating space from distractions, treating yourself with dignity, and aligning your daily actions with the future you want. You are becoming someone your past self needed. Someone capable of navigating chaos, building direction, choosing growth, and rising without permission. Evolution isn't sudden or dramatic. It's steady, grounded, and real. And you are already in motion. This is the point where the principles become identity. You don't finish this book and return to your old patterns. You carry this clarity into your mornings, your choices, your habits, and your future. Every day becomes a chance to prove who you are becoming. Design your life consciously. Design days that reflect your purpose. Design habits that reflect your strength. Design boundaries that reflect your worth. You are no longer shaped by circumstance. You are shaping your own direction. This is the beginning of your next evolution, a life designed not drifted. A future created, not imagined. A self built, not hoped for. Your future is listening. Now, you speak with power.